Hey guys, Garden Shed here, and welcome! I wanted to talk today about alternative fuel types, and in particular hydrogen. As petrol vehicles are in decline, as we're running out of petrol basically, we have to come up with an alternative. Now, I'm guilty. I love internal combustion. I really like it. Ooh, a bit bumpy. And I think that, I am a petrol head. Cars, bikes, planes, whatever. If it's got an engine in, I like it. But anyway, that's not the point. There are reading on the internet, there are two main things, fuel types that people go for. Although there's one that's blown the other out the water, and that is electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are great, because you can charge them at home, you can charge them at work. Although the technology is getting better, in my mind they don't fit the mentality of today. So the mentality of today is you drive your car, you run low on fuel, you pull over for 2 minutes, fill it up, and then you carry on. With an electric vehicle, you do your range, you can't go as far, then you have to wait 45 minutes to it fully charge, and then you carry on. And then as the vehicle gets older, the battery life is significantly going to reduce. So in terms of that, I think that hydrogen is a much better to me, hydrogen is a much better something much better. And I'm thinking, maybe it was about 2010, I believe it was Honda came out with a hydrogen car, and they had it on Top Gear. And James May was saying it's like driving a petrol car, except a little bit quieter. You do your driving, you pull up at a petrol station, you refill it, and it's there. And the technology is there for hydrogen, and it offers similar performance to petrol, similar economics, and all you get out the back is a little bit of H2O. Perfect. And hydrogen, is it 95% of our atmosphere is made up of hydrogen, so it's plentiful. Electricity has to come from somewhere, so whether it's wind turbines or solar or nuclear or fossil fuels, you have to produce the electricity in order to be able to use it. But what I wanted to talk about is, why has hydrogen never caught on? Because the technology's there, the technology's affordable. A hydrogen car works out as not much more than a normal car, but you don't see them anywhere. And the reason for that is the advantage of electricity. As I said earlier, with an electric vehicle, you can charge it at home, you can charge it at work. You wouldn't be able to refill a hydrogen car at home. You just couldn't do it. You'd have to go to a hydrogen filling station, like a petrol station. But that's where the problem with hydrogen lies, is no one will buy a hydrogen car until there are enough hydrogen filling stations to be able to use their car. After all, you're not going to buy a car if you can't fill it up. And to do that, the infrastructure required would cost billions and billions of pounds. It would be basically replace most of the petrol stations in the UK with hydrogen stations. You'd need completely new design pumps, new design tanks, ways of storing it, etc., etc., which would be at a huge cost. Companies would have to do that before people started buying hydrogen cars. Because no one's going to, as I say, no one will buy a hydrogen car if they can't fill it up. So yeah, companies would have to invest billions of pounds in, effectively hydrogen refinement facilities, in filling stations, in transportation methods, all of that. So it would require billions of pounds of investment before anyone actually started using a hydrogen vehicle. Whereas electricity is winning because the infrastructure to charge an electric vehicle is already there. You can just plug it into your socket at home. And to install, charge points and stuff like that is nowhere near the amount of cost outlay. It's not going to cost £1 million to install a fast charge point. But the very base of the infrastructure in terms of electricity is already there because people can charge them at home and work. So it's just, it can be a slow rollout of fast charge points. It doesn't have to be, a massive upfront cost. And I think that is why electric vehicles are winning effectively. But I'm surprised that, you know, oil companies and things like that haven't started, you know, researching hydrogen, started putting money into it, because oil companies, effectively, when oil runs out, they're going to go bust. You know, once the market dries up for petrol and diesel, that's a huge chunk of their profits gone. So fuel companies aren't sustainable unless they start looking into an alternative. But it has to, they can't back fast charge points. It's not enough to replace the capital they lose from fuel, which is why I'm really surprised they haven't started investing in hydrogen. Because then again, they are selling a product in which they can refine, a natural product they can refine, which you would have to go to a filling station for. And it does surprise me that they haven't done it, but equally, as I said, they would have to invest billions before people started buying hydrogen cars. And I do think, you know, it's going to be like any technological advancement. So there's normally like a couple of different routes. So if you're looking down, say, you had HD DVDs and Blu-ray, beat it. You don't see HD DVDs anymore. And there is always, you know, there is quite often a dominant technology. And electric cars actually used to be quite popular back in the 1900s and things like that, as petrol was really starting to come through, but the technology wasn't there, so they weren't as powerful as petrol cars. They couldn't offer the range that petrol cars had, because the technology didn't exist in order to make them equal. So naturally, electric cars in the early 1900s died of death, you know, apart from a few enthusiasts, and you never really hear about them. There are technologies, but I don't think hydrogen will win. Not unless the oil companies turn around and back hydrogen with huge amounts of capital. If they do that, then I think hydrogen will overtake electricity, because it suits the needs of today and the requirements of tomorrow. The biggest flaw with electricity, which no one seems to think about, is one, the power has to come from somewhere, and renewable energy at the moment can't sustain our country, let alone our transport. But also, the materials and all the raw materials needed to make batteries are actually running out. And I can't remember the exact element in which it was, but I was basically reading an article saying it is running out, which is why companies and things are so keen to recycle mobile phones and things like that. So it's not to do with saving the environment. Yes, it is, but it's also preserving a lot of the minerals and raw elements that are used in creating batteries. So all that's going to happen is we'll switch to electricity, we'll run out of the materials that we need to make batteries, and if we can't find anything else, then we'll end up using hydrogen. So why not just go straight to hydrogen? You know, it's a very roundabout topic, and I could go on about it for hours, but I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think hydrogen, bear in mind the technology is there, do you think hydrogen will start being developed and rolled out? Do you think, no, it will just be electrics? Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you ever so much for watching, and take care.